And hello all IEAP 3 students. Welcome to the online PUC classroom. My name is Sreymech, and today I'm going to briefly explain unreal conditional sentences to you all on page 101 from Interchange 2 book. You may have learned or will learn this with your teacher soon, and this is only supplementary to your teacher's lessons. Okay, so let's imagine together. You had $1 million. What would you do? Would you keep it or would you spend it? Actually, this is only my imagination. Now I do not have $1 million and I could not do anything at all. So when we talk about imagination or we imagine something that is impossible to happen, we use our grammar today, unreal conditional sentences. Actually, you can also call unreal conditional sentences as the second conditional sentences. So let's start with the example together. What would you do if you had $1 million? And here is my answer. If I had $1 million, I would buy a house. So the first one is called if clause. And this sentence is called main clause. For sure, if clause could not stand alone. So if clause need to stand with the main clause. And when we combine it together, it is called unreal conditional sentence. So now we already got the sentence here. So let's start with the form. What is the form of second conditional sentence? So let's start with if. And after if, we have simple past tense. And then we get with comma, subject plus would. Actually in here you can use would, could or might. So you say would, could or might. Plus with verb infinitive, we can also call it as verb 1 and plus object. So here is the form. And you need to remember to use comma when you use if clause at the beginning. However, if you do not want to use comma, you need to put the main clause first and then if clause at the end. So you can say another form, or subject plus would, could, verb 1 plus object. And then you start with if clause without comma. So you can say if plus simple past tense. In simple past tense here, in if clause, you can also say it's subject plus verb 2 plus object. And when you make into negative, you say subject plus that plus not plus verb 1 plus object. You might have a question whether we can use if clause with the question. I recommend you to use the if clause to use the question with the main clause. So in if clause you still keep it the same. If you look at the first question that I asked, what would you do if you had $1 million? So you can see here we make the question with the main clause and we still keep the same form, original form with the if clause. So if we go back to the first sentence, if I had $1 million, I would buy a house. If I do not want to use comma, I could exchange it and we say I would buy a house if I had $1 million. Okay, now can I use be with if clause? For sure, we can use verb be with if clause. So verb be is if am and are in the present tense. When we change into simple past tense, if am and are change to was and were. So let's take a look at the example here. If I were a rich man, comma, I would donate some money. You might wonder why we do not use was with I. Because as we know, was can be used with I, he, she, it, and singular noun, while were can be used with we, you, they, and plural nouns. But remember that in the unreal conditional sentences, we do not use was. So we use only were with every type of subject. I, we, you, they, he, she, it, singular noun or plural noun, we use with only were. So that is why I say, if I were a rich man, I would donate some money. So now let's move on to the usage. How do we use unreal conditional sentences? Well, like I mentioned in the beginning, unreal conditional sentences are used to describe things that are unlikely to happen in the future, or things that are impossible to happen in the present. So even though we use with past tense, the meaning is not in the past, but the meaning is in the present or in the future. So remember one thing, if you use with second conditional sentence, it is not really true, but it is only your imagination. You want to change your life, you want to make your life different, so you just imagine. But actually, in reality, it is not really likely to happen in the future or impossible to happen in the present. Okay, so let's practice together. So I have 3 exercises on the board. What you need to do is to fill in each blank with second conditional form. In order to do this, you need to go back to my teaching at the beginning and then look at the form I have just taught. Let's do it. So now let's check the answers together. Exercise number 1. I asked my parents for a loan if I be you. So first of all, you need to identify which sentence is main clause. For sure, the first one is the main clause. Start from I until a loan. And from here, is called if clause. So with main clause, you need to use would, might, could, plus infinitive verb, plus object. And with if clause, you need to plus with simple past tense. So here, I would ask. I would ask my parents for a loan if I be. So be here, we use as was or were. For sure, that should be were. Because like I mentioned in my explanation, we use were in second conditional sentence with every type of subjects. So I got my answer. I would ask my parents for a loan if I were you. Move on to the second exercise. What you do if your teacher give you A plus by mistake. So the first one is also the main clause. So what would you say? What would you do if your teacher, past tense of give should be gave you A plus by mistake. So now I got the answer. What would you do if your teacher gave you A plus by mistake? Let's move on to the last exercise. If I find a wallet on the street, I give it to a policeman. So the first one is called if clause. Like I mentioned, if clause used with past simple tense. So you say, if I, verb 2 of find is found. If I found a wallet on the street, I would give it to policemen. So these are the answers. Okay, I hope you have learned something today, and I am sure that you will get more practice from your teacher. Stay safe and enjoy learning via the online PUC classroom.